Hall of Fame second baseman Rogers Hornsby was once asked what he does all winter with no baseball. He answered that he stares out the window and waits for spring. Well, folks, it is finally spring in San Antonio. It may be 40 degrees outside with the sun nowhere in sight, but it is spring because Trinity baseball is back. I'm Brian Yanselson, joined by Luke Terry, and we are both thrilled to be with y'all for the start of this 2022 baseball season.
Yeah, Brian, I think you said it best when you tweeted out earlier. No words can describe how excited we are for this one here today. Baseball is back in San Antonio. It's been, some 9-10 months that we've waited for this opener. And the Tigers are going to have a good one here today, this weekend, the entire year. You know, we've talked about it coming into this. They've lost a lot. Obviously, some veterans on the roster last year that don't return for them, but a whole lot of familiar faces that did come back for the Tigers, and a lot of guys that have a ton of talent in the field, in the bullpen. It looks promising. It looks like they're going to put together a special run this year, and it's exciting to be back on day one on the call with you.
Absolutely. It was a great start for these Tigers, even though it is opening day for us here at Tiger Network. The Tigers traveled to Birmingham, Alabama, and they had quite the weekend to open up the season. They defeated two top 10 teams. They went on the road and defeated the host, Birmingham Southern, and they also defeated Washington University in St. Louis on Saturday and Sunday, respectively. They did lose their opener to Lynchburg, but they stand at 2-1. Meanwhile, the Babson Beavers, coming from Wellesley, Massachusetts, you see they are 0-0, 0-0, because they have not played. This is their opening day of the 2022 season, and they are excited to be here. We were hoping to welcome them with a little bit better weather, what we're used to in South Texas, but instead it seems like they've brought Wellesley to San Antonio.
Yeah, especially considering those 80-degree days we were having early in the week. A little too hot to wear pants even, sweating a little bit on campus, and then all of a sudden you wake up one morning and it's in the 30s, and we're wondering if we're going to have this series played this weekend. But I think no matter what, you ask all these guys, they're just happy to be out here on the baseball diamond and having the opportunity to play. For the Babson Beavers, their opening weekend, of course, for the Tigers, obviously been eagerly awaiting the chance to play here in San Antonio again. So excited for this one as we see the Beavers starting lineup up on the screen now.
Yeah, their starting nine right there for you. Leading off, a familiar face for the Beavers, shortstop Jack Perkle, third baseman Tanner Santos, followed by second baseman Thomas Lapham. At cleanup, first baseman Josh Yellen. Catching and batting fifth, the reigning NUMAC Rookie of the Year, Francis Kiley. At designated hitter, batting sixth, Justin Guest. Right fielder, Sean Barichka. Left fielder, Michael Cook, batting eighth. And batting ninth, the center fielder, Patrick Manning. And with the lineup introduced, we are just about ready for first pitch here in San Antonio. And that first pitch is a little inside for a ball, but we are officially underway. It feels good to say that, Luke.
Yeah, it feels good to hear it too, Brian. And it feels even better given the fact that number 38, Corey Cater's back on the mound throwing in San Antonio, Texas for these Tigers.
Yeah, he had a great start on Friday. He was the opening day starter for the Tigers, so this is his second start. Lost that game, gave up a couple of runs, as that delivery is high.
Yeah, but he was a part of a staff last weekend that overall holistically looked really, really good. And when you can say you walk away from a weekend series, obviously a couple different opponents, but playing 3 games and having 3 starters that each go 5 innings and strike out double-digit opponents, then you're going to be really, really happy with the results. And obviously they dropped one last weekend, but to turn around and to follow that up with a couple of wins against ranked opponents, you have to feel really, really good about where you're sitting coming into this weekend.
That one chopped over to third. MJ Metz has it, and a nice pick by Jack Vonderhaar at first, and the first out is recorded for the Tigers. Nice way to get everyone involved a little early on that ground ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously we mentioned that Cater strikes out double digits in last weekend's win, but a really nice approach right there. Got ahead in the count with a couple of fastballs, and then he goes with something off speed. Obviously, that curveball delivery had the hitter out front. Soft ground ball to third base. Important here in a game where it's really, really cold outside to keep those fielders in tune, in touch, and obviously has them working early on for the quick out.
Yeah, last week a very Corey Cater-like start in that he only gave up 3 hits, he had 10 strikeouts, and he did have 5 walks. Is that breaking ball in there for a strike to get ahead 0-2? Something that Corey wants to work on is he knows his stuff can get guys out. He's got to get it in the zone and not beat himself. See what he does here with the 0-2 count. That ball in the dirt. At the plate is Tanner Santos, the sophomore from Bethany, Connecticut. Just 1 start all of last year for the Beavers, so an opening day start for him. That one swung on and missed. McNaney wanted it high, and he got it right there. So a quick 2 outs for Corey Cater.
Yeah, and for Cater, it looks like he's just overpowering the hitter right there. Looks like he went with his fastball. He's throwing that 2-seamer right now. Got good run on that one. That movement pushed it back to the outside part of the plate, and that hitter just had no chance of getting to that one.
That brings up Thomas Lapham to the plate. Is that breaking ball high to start the at-bat? And Lapham will be one of the staples of this Beavers offense. One of the few players to play in all 17 games last year for the Beavers. They had a pretty short season, condensed due to COVID, as that one away but called for a strike, evening up the count at 1-1. Lapham hitting .310 last year. Had 14 runs batted in and a home run. As he blows by that one, Cater trying to get back in the count at 2-1.
Yeah, and early on in this one, Brian, Cater's having a lot of success with that fastball. I know we talked before the game about him getting into a little bit of trouble last weekend. A couple of those hits coming on that fastball that he throws, but early on in this one, hitters just having no chance at catching up with it. So I think at this point in the game, that's something that you just have to keep going back to, keep hammering until these Babson hitters, who again are in their first game of the season, get their timing down and start making some solid contact on that baseball.
After getting behind 2-0 here, Cater has evened up the count at 2-2, something the Tigers have kept a very close eye on since the fall. The difference between 2-1 and 1-2, one of the most drastic changes in results for a pitcher, but we'll see if Cater can go against the odds here. Got down 2-1, but trying to finish off this clean first inning, and he will, as Lapham goes around. So a 1-2-3 first inning for Corey Cater, and the Tigers come into bat. Quick break there because we want to introduce you to your 2022 Tigers that will be starting in this home opener. Leading off, center fielder Ezra Gore. At shortstop, batting second, Michael Montreza. Batting third, second baseman Jack Wisniewski. Batting cleanup after a couple of games in the leadoff spot, third baseman MJ Metz. Designated hitter, batting fifth, Christian Holloway. First baseman, batting sixth, Jack Vonderhaar. Batting seventh, the right fielder, Brian Schaub. Batting eighth in left field, Nathan Brolick with his first start of the season. And catching, batting ninth, Matt McNaney. And Luke, this is game number 4 for the Tigers. Lineup number 4. Lots of shuffling going on for these Trinity Tigers early on.
Yeah, absolutely right about that, Brian. Opening weekend saw some really good arms, especially in that first game against Lynchburg. Unfortunate to say that you get no hit, you get a perfect game thrown against you for 6 innings of that one, and I think that's gonna cue some changes to the lineup. But we saw it after the next couple of games. I think it's something that we'll probably continue to see pretty regularly until we hit conference play, and there's a lineup that we see that really, really works. Obviously, we mentioned in the open that this is a Tiger team that loses some veterans from last season's team, including Rafe Shamet, Meredith, Goodrich, tons of guys that were here for 5 years and had huge impacts on the offensive success. So replacing those guys is going to be tough, but finding a rhythm in the offensive order is also going to be a difficult task as Gore opens that one really nicely, singling down the line into left field. He'll have a leadoff single to get the Tigers going here in San Antonio.
And it's quite the tough assignment as you get a look at the replay here. Gore just hooking it down the line there for a single. A tough assignment for Tristan Spalter, today's starter for the Beavers. It is his first career start. Made 2 appearances last year, both out of the bullpen. Although both appearances were extended starts, in essence, he went 3 1/3 against Wheaton and then 5 1/3 against Wheaton. So a couple of extended appearances out of the pen. First pitch swinging is Montreza. Some trouble with it there, and in the dirt, unable to corral it is the first baseman, Yellen. And so just like that, the Tigers have something brewing in the bottom of the first.
Yeah, and Montreza sees a fastball, first pitch right there. Obviously, right there with the baseball, that's Kylie behind the plate for the Beavers. Tough play, being a little bit obstructed by Montreza, but obviously he has the right of way, trying to make his way down to first base. Kylie just rushes that throw a little bit and not able to make the pick at first base. And as you said, Tigers have something brewing here early.
And who do the Tigers have coming to the plate? None other than fifth-year super senior Jack Wisniewski. Hard to find a more consistent Tiger over these past 4 years now going into this 5th season than Wisniewski. The local San Antonio native attended Antonian High School, and he's got a chance here early. Spalter facing some pressure, and Wisniewski squares around a bunt, gets a good one down, but it's foul. I think here we see a sign of what the coaches expect. Cold weather, windy outside, maybe not a lot of runs this weekend. Having the third hole hitter Wisniewski square around to sacrifice.
Yeah, especially after you see some trouble in the field from Babson in that last at-bat. Forcing them to field the ball on the move, make a good throw to first. Even if they do come away making the good defensive play, you have runners on second and third with only one out. And you have MJ Metz stepping into the box next.
And right there, Spalter wisely turning around. You can't forget about Ezra Gore at second. Team lead 8 stolen bases last year, so if we focus too much on the incoming bunt, Ezra could take off. We'll see if Wisniewski squares around. He does. Gets it out in front. Spalter trying to get to third, and Gore will be called out. A nice athletic play for Spalter, bouncing off the mound. The bunt going right to him. And you see here a close call there, but it did look like the throw beat him. So 1 out in the bottom of the first. Cleanup hitter MJ Metz coming to bat.
Yeah, and obviously a tough play. A good job by Wisniewski to get that bunt down. Spalter made a good pitch, curveball right there. Knowing that Wisniewski was more than likely going to square around to bunt again. Certainly a difficult offering to put in play. Wisniewski obviously did that job, but straight back to Spalter, who did a great job of fielding his position. And again, Ezra Gore was at second base, and with the wheels that he has, never an easy play, but Spalter to get the lead runner to keep the Tigers on first and second, obviously huge early on in this one.
So after a hit and an error for a shaky start, Spalter trying to get out of this early jam. Gets ahead of MJ Metz 0-1. And takes a step off to keep an eye on the runners. Now Montreza at second, Wisniewski at first. Metz awaiting the 0-1 count. Catcher Kylie setting up inside. And Metz skies that one to right field. going over to make the catch there is Barichka in foul territory. Montreza does take advantage and goes to third. But there are now 2 outs here and runners at the corners for the Tigers.
Yeah, and a good job by Spalter attacking the zone now, settling in really nicely after Gore obviously had that leadoff single and then a defensive mistake made in the infield. Obviously a tough position to be in, runners on first and second with no outs, but he's been unfazed by it. Really nice to see from such a young pitcher, and now here with runners on first and third for the Tigers, he does have a chance to get out of it without any damage.
Christian Holloway, first pitch swinging. He sends it to the left side, and a nice play there by Perkle to get it onto first. So the Tigers get the first 2 on, but Spalter able to recover and get out of the first inning. You see the replay here, a hard hit ball, but it's off the third baseman and on to Perkle, who got the out. So tie ball game here after 1. We'll be right back on Tiger Network. One inning down here in San Antonio, and Luke, I know you and I were both so excited that we just have caught our breath now. I think we're officially in the swing of the season.
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. And, we spent a long time outside before this one, and I know they're still out there playing baseball, but it took us a second to thaw out, and I think now, top of the second, we're really going to get into the groove here, but excited to be back.
Josh Yellen now at the plate for Babson. He takes a first pitch strike on the breaking ball from Cater. Cater had a nice clean first inning. We'll see if he can continue to build on that. As that pitch results in a check swing. First base umpire says he went around, so an 0-2 count here. Yellen, a transfer from the College of Charleston. Someone that head coach Matt Noon mentioned to me as a possible breakout candidate in this lineup. And that is in there for strike 3. McNaney wanted it high again. It was right down the middle, honestly, but Yellen froze in there. Goes down looking.
Yeah, and obviously in that first inning, Cater had that fastball going. So Yellen stepping into the box to see a couple off-speed pitches and to then get that fastball when you're already down 0-2, having not already seen it, I think just throws off your timing even further, especially after a check swing on an 0-2 breaking ball. Just no shot. No one on this Babson lineup catching up to that fastball right now, and certainly an adjustment needs to be made. The foot needs to get down sooner, and just starting somewhere, starting by putting the ball into play is probably the first step for this Babson lineup.
At the plate now is the sophomore Francis Kiley, mentioned at the top when introducing the lineup that Kiley was named Rookie of the Year in the New England Women's and Men's Athletic Conference, NUMAC for short. It's probably the last time we'll read out the full conference, a long name there. But Kiley, a prolific bat here in this lineup, led the Beavers with 3 home runs last year, had 12 runs batted in. Hit a respectable .255 while performing his duties behind the plate as well. And he did all of that as a freshman, so expecting even more from the sophomore catcher now. as he looks at that Cater delivery that looks to be just a little bit low or outside. So the count 2-1. This time the ball inside, and that's actually walk for Kylie. That first pitch must have been a ball that we thought was a strike, so nonetheless, Kylie walks on over to first. First base runner for the Beavers here in the top of the second after Cater had retired the first 4. And that brings Justin Guest to the plate. First pitch to Guest called a strike, similar to that pitch we saw to Kylie. That was called a ball.
Yeah, Brian, but going back to last week, talking about Cater's performance, obviously spectacular with those 5 innings pitched, double-digit strikeouts. The only thing that really got him in trouble there was the walks that he issued. And early on here, you have to say that having not even seen a batted ball, no hits for this Babson lineup to this point, to be giving out free handouts to have someone on base without having them have to swing the bat is not something that you want to see. Obviously for Cater, I'm sure he's not pleased with that. So I think immediately we've seen the response here, throwing strikes in the zone again with that fastball, and then pulls the string on it there with that curveball for the strikeout. So just a great job by Cater to answer. After we saw in last weekend's series, in that game against Lynchburg, he kind of let the mistakes pile on top of each other for him. A couple walks in a row, and then a single led to a couple runs. But nips that in the butt right there, gets the second out of the inning. And again, Tigers could be out of it without giving up any damage here.
That strikeout brings Sean Barichka to the plate, and another breaking ball to start the at-bat lands in there for a strike. I know Corey really wanted to work on that breaking ball for a strike, and it seems to be working early here, really keeping the Beavers guessing. And Corey quickly ready for the next delivery. That one in the dirt, McNaney trying to get the runner at first, and the ball gets away. The runner won't be able to advance any further, though. He just gets to second. So McNaney trying to throw behind the runner there. And you see as soon as he threw to Vonderhaar at first, Kylie took advantage and took off for second. So a quick visit to the mound here. McNaney just talking with Corey Cater.
Yeah, Brian, and after that replay, we see McNaney kind of hesitate when he comes up. Kylie really stuck in the middle there. I think that's a scenario where the Tiger catcher, who's filling in on the day for Pettit, who is out with a little bit of sickness, but for that Tiger catcher, want to freeze, want to read the runner a little bit better, maybe run a little bit towards first base, try and pick up on what he's going to do and make him commit one direction or the other. That's really the last thing that you want to have happen if you're McNaney, and throw behind the runner and allow him to advance to second. Worst case, in that scenario, you come up firing to second, and Kylie just returns to first, and you're not giving up any free bag there. So obviously a learning experience for the young Tiger here, but again, 1-2 count already for Cater, 2 outs here in the inning. Can afford that type of mistake when you can get out of it right here.
Both Cater and Barichka sensing this big moment early on. We mentioned runs might be at a premium this weekend, so every opportunity with man in scoring position counts. And Cater here with the 1-2, and just able to reach down and get it is Barichka to extend the at-bat. Cater at 29 pitches through 1 2/3 innings. If you stay at about 15 an inning, that seems to be a good average for most pitchers to go about 6 or 7. So we'll see what Cater can do here as Barichka once again fights that one off, staying alive.
Yeah, and a couple of off-speed offerings keeping Barichka a little bit uneven, off balance up there in the batter's box, but I'd really love to see Cater go back to that fastball, maybe elevate something here, especially after that bat head has dropped for a couple of those consecutive breaking balls.
We'll do the 1-2 yet again. Kiley at second base, Barichka at the plate, and timeout called by McNaney behind the plate. Kiley getting on base with a walk. Still no hits for the Beavers, and they have struck out 4 times early on here. Cater now ready for the 1-2. Fouled off once again by Barichka. That time Cater going up in the zone. Trying to blow that fastball by him, but Barichka just able to get to it.
Yeah, and that one coming off the hands of Barichka's bat there just a little bit. And obviously, we mentioned already, Cater throwing that two-seam fastball, so that run on it just hurting him a little bit there. I think that one stays on the outside, might be just over the top of Barichka's barrel. That one doesn't draw any contact, and this inning would already be over for the Tigers, but still remaining in a good spot here, way ahead in the count. Don't want anything too close.
1-2 once more from Cater, and that one is a called third strike. Cater wins that long battle and leaves the runner at second base. So both teams stranding some men in scoring position as Cater dotting the corner there to get out of the second. We'll be right back on Tiger Network as the Tigers looking for some runs. Welcome back to Tiger Network, where another one of the Tigers Super Seniors is ready for his first at-bat of the afternoon. Jack Vonderhaar at the plate. Spalter's first pitch to Vonderhaar, called strike up and away. Vonderhaar, one of the more powerful bats in this Tigers lineup that averaged over 9 runs a game last season. Big swing there by Vonderhaar. Unable to connect, so 1-1 count. 0-2 count, sorry. Vonderhaar connecting for 6 home runs last season. Yet batting 6th in this deep Tigers lineup. We mentioned so much last season, 1-9. There is power to be found in this Trinity lineup. That time, Spalter able to get Vonderhaar swinging through a pitch in the dirt. So a better start to this second inning for Spalter, and it seems like he's really settled in after a shaky couple batters.
Yeah, and for Spalter here in this at-bat, I think the key was getting that first pitch called strike. Obviously responds really well after that. Threw that changeup that looked like it was going to be a strike to Vonderhaar, had him swinging over the top of it, and then he's way ahead and really had the opportunity to throw anything that he wanted. But now, obviously, with Brian Schaub stepping up to the plate, another Tiger that has a lot of pop in his bat, and another one that you look at and ask, why is he so far down the list?
And Schaub does connect with one but it'll be killed by the wind there in left field. The wind is blowing in from left center towards the Babson dugout here at your first base side. So Schaub retired on just 2 pitches. Looks like he got a good swing on that, but not going very far this afternoon. So 2 quick outs for Spalter, and that'll bring up Nathan Brolick. Brolick, another San Antonio native, and another graduate of Antonian like Wisniewski, getting his first start of the season after a couple of pinch hit opportunities in Birmingham. Spalter ready to go, waiting for Brolick to step in there. That pitch just a little outside. 2-1 count. But you see Spalter getting right on the rubber, ready to go. And Brolick sends that one over to second base, but it gets past the second baseman there and into right field for a base hit. Lapham unable to get over there, and it sneaks on past to right field for a base hit here with two down.
Yeah, and we'll see the replay right here. Brolick does a good job of getting that front foot down on time on that fastball after he spat at a couple of what looked like off-speed pitches. Kind of hard to tell what Spalter's been throwing on and leading with here, Brian. Seen a couple of at-bats in a row where that first pitch is on the outside part of the plate to a couple of left-handed hitters and fading away just a little bit. But obviously that at-bat with Vonderhaar, that second pitch looked like a changeup, as that one's grounded to the third baseman. He has a tough throw to make all the way across the diamond, but he will do that, get the job done to record the third out here of the inning.
So a base hit with 2 outs for the Tigers, but nothing doing after that. 2 complete here in San Antonio. Game remains 0-0 as we head to the third. Corey Cater back on the mound here in the top of the third. Still no hits for the Beavers, 1 walk, and Michael Cook at the plate. Cook lets that one go low for ball 1. Michael Cook, the junior from Whitman, Massachusetts. NUMAC Academic All-Conference honoree last year. That one a little bit higher now for a strike. Cook hitting 2 home runs last year, driving in 7 runs while hitting .270. And that was just in 11 games. Swings through that one. I mentioned the Beavers only playing 17 games last year. That's compared to the 37 that the Tigers played. And just all sorts of different schedules across the country with COVID still hitting the country differently in different places. In New England, one of the hardest hit areas, so the Beavers not able to get in a ton of action. Cook fouls that one off the other way. just to show how hard of a time the Beavers have had getting on the field, they went to the College World Series in 2019, 3 years ago now. They have only played 20 games since that World Series appearance, as they only played 3 games in 2020, all of which came right here in San Antonio, and then those 17 last year. So just 20 games since that College World Series appearance 3 years ago.
Yeah, Brian, that's such a crazy statistic, especially for a team, as you mentioned, that's coming out of a College World Series appearance a couple of years ago. Obviously want to be out on the field, being able to compete. Interesting to look at last year, both of these sides had the exact same amount of games canceled. Both had 8 get scratched off the record, as Cook skied that one into right field, took that hard turn around first base, but looks like that one ultimately was fielded out there by Brolick. And all of a sudden, Babson here with 1 out in the top of the third. But both of these teams having 8 of those games canceled last year just goes to show you how many that each were looking to play at the beginning of their season. A lot of what you were talking about in regards to regional differences in the impacts of COVID. Obviously, that northeastern region had a really difficult time getting out on the field, but luckily the Tigers here down in San Antonio and playing a lot of their games in Texas last season were able to get a lot of them in.
Manning connects with one up the middle there, but it is caught in the air by Montreza. Hard hit ball by the number 9 hitter, but quick reaction and great spot for the shortstop. As you see here on the replay, just venturing over to his side a little bit and getting that one for out number 2. But I think you're absolutely right, Luke. The Tigers last year, even though they did get a bunch of games in, as the lineup turns over here, Perkle, the leadoff hitter, back up. A lot of the games came within the state of Texas, even the non-conference ones facing the American Southwest Conference outside of the Southern Collegiate Athletic Conference that the Tigers belong to. But now it feels a little bit more like normal, that trip to Birmingham to face teams from across the region, and now welcoming the Babson Beavers from Massachusetts. It's good to see these teams from all over the country once again traveling across Division III.
Yeah, for sure, Brian. And I think it's something that you can take note of in really every sport, as that one's grounded to the right side. Wisniewski fields it cleanly, makes the throw on to Vonderhaar, and that one will do it for the Tigers here in the top of the third.
So a great inning for Cater. 1 hard hit ball, but caught by Montreza. We're headed to the bottom of the third, 0-0 in San Antonio. Already the top of the fourth here in San Antonio, still tied at 0, and you see fans bundled up behind home. It is 39 degrees currently here in South Texas. As Rigor back to the plate, and he waves at that one and misses. Just past Tuesday, if you're unaware, for those Babson fans, it was 85 degrees here in San Antonio. A scorching 85. And then all of a sudden, as so often happens here in San Antonio, it gets down to 30 degrees.
Yeah, Brian, and I know I ran into you earlier this week and we talked a little bit about the weather. It just made it so much worse that it was really an overnight thing. We didn't have any adjustment period as Gore lifts that one into the gap in left field, but center fielder roams over to record that one. One down here for the Tigers in the bottom of the third. But again, as we talked about a little bit in the open, just happy to be back in San Antonio, having baseball being played, especially for these Tigers who were in some chillier conditions, maybe not this cold, but definitely not up in 80-degree weather when they were out in Birmingham this past weekend.
And I have to think that Trinity parents and friends and family of these players are happy to be back at the ballpark, even if it means bundling up in blankets and gloves and beanies. This is the first game here with fans since March 11th of 2020, so nearly 2 full years since fans were allowed here at the ballpark. So we know we're thrilled to have everybody back and can't wait to see more of you as the weather does improve. It's Michael Montreza up at the plate after that quick Gore fly ball. Spalter working ridiculously quickly here. Tries to get that one in there, but just low, falls behind 2-1. But look at how quickly Spalter gets the ball back from the catcher, gets on the rubber. He is ready to go. And that one fouled towards the Tiger bullpen.
Yeah, Brian, and after the Tigers were threatening a little bit there in the bottom of that first inning, Spalter's really turned things around. Clearly moving very, very quickly, but a little bit of a road bump right there as that curveball misses just a little bit outside. Montreza has the free pass down to first base now, but you look at that pitch count, Spalter's still right around that 30 pitch mark after we saw Cater hit that just after 2 innings. So a really good spot for the Babson pitcher and for this whole bullpen after one of our biggest questions coming into this one was who we were going to see and how they were going to replace some of the arms they lost off of last year's team.
And those were some pretty impressive arms that they lost as this first pitch to Wisniewski gets away from Kiley, and Montreza able to take second off of that quick reaction from the shortstop. Results in an extra 90 feet and a man in scoring position. So we'll see if Spalter can get out of another jam here. Tigers have had a runner on in all 3 innings now, just unable to cash in. Wisniewski last time laid down a bunt with runners on first and second. This time swinging away, he chops that one to second. And on to first for the out. So 2 down here. Montreza does move over to third. And that brings up MJ Metz for the 2-out RBI opportunity. Metz having himself a great opening weekend in Birmingham, going 4 for 11 across the 3 games and homering in that final game against Wash U. And he let the world know that he homered on that one with the epic bat flip. Ended up on social media. We'll see what he can come up with here as he gets ahead 1-0. Spalter this time outside. Gets in the dirt, but Kiley able to keep it right there. So falling behind 2-0, and you can see Spalter for the first time really taking a step back, walking behind the mound. We've seen him work so quickly, but now, again, such a powerful hitter. Runner on third, 2-0 count. A little bit of trouble for Spalter. This time, again in the dirt. Nice block by Kiley, but Spalter behind 3-0 to the third baseman.
Yeah, and I like those first couple of offerings from Spalter. That first one just missing a little bit inside to Metz. That second one just finishing a little bit on the outside part of the plate. A little bit too much break on what looked like a little bit of a curveball or slider from Spalter. But now getting back into this count, really a brave spot to throw right down the middle to Metz. Certainly a guy in this lineup that the coaches trust a ton, and I'd be surprised if he didn't have a green light in scenarios like this. So for Spalter now with 1 strike, really have to be careful right here against one of the best hitters in this Tigers lineup.
That off-speed delivery looked to be a little outside. Looks like Metz agreed with that one, took a little step towards first, but instead a full count. Spalter battling back from down 3-0, now trying to get out of it completely. Metz awaits the 3-2, and he swings at that one, fouls it straight back. Mets spending some time atop the lineup in Birmingham, games 1 and 2. Led off, a little experiment for head coach Tim Scannell. But on Sunday afternoon, back in the cleanup spot and back here once again. That one checks his swing. Home plate umpire says he did not go around. Catcher Kiley pleading for the second base umpire to decide, but to no avail. That will be base on balls for Mets, and that'll bring up Christian Holloway with runners at the corners, 2 down.
Yeah, and a little bit odd there, obviously at the discretion of the home plate umpire as to whether or not he wants the opinion of his colleague in the field. But usually if a catcher asks, we see that granted to them, but not happening there as Mets checked his swing. But really great opportunity here for the Tigers, really threatening spot with Mets on first base. Maybe not the fastest Tiger in this lineup, but a big frame, long legs, certainly someone that they'll be willing to send in motion as Spalter checks on him there. He's safe diving back in at first, but again, great opportunity here for the Tigers to scratch one, even though they have 2 outs here in the bottom of the third.
Holloway lines that one up the middle, and that is down for a base hit. Mets trying to go to third, and he will be there standing up. So Christian Holloway breaks through for the Tigers as they strike first here in the bottom of the third.
Yeah, just a great piece of hitting right there from Holloway. Gets ahead 1-0 in the count, really forces Spalter's hands with a couple of Tigers on base already. That fastball just catches a little bit too much of the plate, and Holloway does exactly what he needs to do with it. Low line drive, make sure it gets down in the field to score that run from third, and all of a sudden the Tigers are up here 1-0.
And you can see why Christian Holloway, one of 6 Tigers that have been in the lineup now all 4 games. Coach Scannell knows that his bat will play on any given day, so even if it means putting him at that DH spot, that bat has to be there. And he delivers early. In the first inning, he hit the ball hard with runners in scoring position, just to the wrong man, but this time delivers it into the outfield, and now Vonderhaar trying to deliver a couple more runs for the Tigers. He looks at that first one outside for a strike. So Spalter's pitch count had been pretty perfect and very low, but now up to 41 pitches with 2 outs in the third. And he is quite preoccupied with the runner on first, Holloway. Holloway not someone you expect to steal, only 1 stolen base on the year last year. And you saw him also try to pick off Mets a couple of times, so maybe a little rattled in the third with these runners on and the first run in. But that breaking ball in there for a strike. So now ahead 0-2 on the super senior. Vonderhaar striking out in his first at-bat.
Yeah, and a much different sequence of pitches to Vonderhaar than he saw in his first at-bat.
This time he lines it, but right to a Beaver at first base. You'll see the replay. Vonderhaar can't hit it much harder than he does here, but it is right to the first baseman. Right place at the right time was Yellen. So what could have been even more just results in 1 run, but the Tigers are ahead here as we head to the top of the 4th. Tigers 1-0. For the first time this season, Corey Cater gets to be on the mound with a lead as the Tigers delivered a run in the bottom of the third. And now Cater looks to have a shutdown inning and a nice start there with a strike low and away. Tanner Santos at the plate for the second time. Cater going up against a very worthy opponent last week in Birmingham as Santos swings through that one. 2 strikes now on him. But Cater going up against a pretty elite pitcher in Division III, Brandon Pond of Lynchburg. As you mentioned, Luke, throwing 6 perfect innings before the Tigers got to him. But this week as McNaney sets up high once again, and that one right there for a called third strike. Perfectly located up and in there, and Cater really dealing now. Last week, Brandon Pond shutting down the Tigers, and all week long, all you could hear at practice here for Trinity is what a good pitcher he was, and Tim Scannell going as far as saying one of the best pitchers he's ever seen at the D3 level. So a real credit to him, the reigning ODAC Pitcher of the Year, the Old Dominion Athletic Conference. And you see how good of a job he did, where the next 2 days the Tigers exploding for some runs against 2 top 10 teams. So that Friday opening day matchup for the Tigers, a battle of 2 good pitchers, and Cater dealing himself here. Strikeout to open the inning, and now going up against Lapham. 1-1 count. Breaking ball stays high. McNaney setting up away here. The ball low. Cater falling behind 3-1. Steps behind the mound to grab a little rosin.
Yeah, Brian, obviously we've talked a lot about pitch counts and the fact that Cater's got up there a little bit towards the end of that second inning and how Spalters began to rise a little bit in the last half. But go back to the top of the third for Cater. Did a really good job not forcing the ball past hitters, allowing them to put the ball in play. Entered that half inning, that frame with 5 strikeouts, left with that same number, and kept the pitch count down in that inning. Still operating really, really well early on in this one. Maybe perhaps gave himself a little bit extra life later on, but a good job to come back after trailing in this count to get an out right there for the second of the inning and to keep a runner off base for the Beavers.
Yeah, and Lapham tried to sell the walk to the umpire, started heading to first, but the umpire said, come right back to the plate. And Cater able to deliver with the out. Mets doing a nice job coming in on that ground ball and getting it over to Vonderhaar. 2 away here in the fourth. Josh Yellen steps to the plate.
Yeah, and that last pitch from Cater was another one of those 2-seam fastballs that we've seen him use so well early on here in this one. Just brilliant movement on those pitches, and he's located it on both sides of the plate. That first at-bat, strikeout on 3 pitches. We saw it as that strikeout pitch that put the hitter away. Started it right under the hands, really, and it ran all the way back to catch that inside part of the plate. And then in that last at-bat, started it in that bottom third away from the hitter. It ran all the way out, and Lapham could really only manage that soft contact to third base. So a really, really dangerous pitch for Cater early on here in the season, especially when it's been so well paired with that fastball, with that curveball and the other pitches in his repertoire.
And right there, Yellen able to get that one to drop in the right center field gap for the first base hit of the afternoon for the Beavers. Cater had gone 3 2/3 without giving up a base hit, had 6 strikeouts and a walk, but Yellen able to break through in the hit column. So Cater now from the stretch, and that one in the dirt. Nice pick from McNaney. Yellen over there at first had 3 stolen bases, caught just 1 time. So could be a threat to run here with 2 outs in the fourth. Cater staring in, waiting for his sign. Now time called at the plate. Before this inning, Kylie, the only other Beaver to reach base on balls. Now he'll try to bring home Yellen or extend the inning. Cater holding. Now looks at the runner, so he is pretty concerned over there with Yellen. We've seen both pitchers now take their time once a runner reaches first. Now Cater ready for the 1-0. That one in the dirt. McNaney blocks it. He gets it over to second as Yellen is able to get in there safely. So a good secondary lead for Yellen. Lets him get to second as that ball just got a little bit away from McNaney. Really stayed right in front, but a good jump for number 14. And he gets over there.
Yeah, and a good job by McNaney, obviously, as you mentioned, to keep that one in front. Just blocks it a little bit towards the runner. If you're the catcher back there, want to try and square those shoulders to keep it right in front of the plate. And worst case scenario, if you're in McNaney's position, coming off that right shoulder to free him up and have an open throwing lane. Just a little bit delayed, having to go around that runner. Obviously, that throw misses a little bit to the wrong side of the bag. Leaves that one on the left side closer to third base. And although it got there in what looked like, or what could have been on time, just on the wrong side of the bag, and Wisniewski wasn't able to apply the tag to the runner.
So the Beavers trying to create a little two-out magic, had no one on after the first two were retired. Get their first hit of the afternoon, and now Kylie ahead in the count, trying to bring home the tying run. Another one in the dirt. This one gets past McNaney, and Yellen will be able to mosey on to third. So a couple in a row in the dirt for Cater. And you'll have a 3-1 count against this power-hitting catcher.
Yeah, Brian, that last pitch looked to be a little bit of a curveball. McNaney back there just jumped up a little bit. Typically, those curveballs and breaking balls, sliders, and whatever else are going to stay down, just kick back to the opposite direction a little bit. So a little bit odd. Perhaps I have that one wrong. Maybe a fastball. McNaney back there jumping up. As previously mentioned, fastball more likely to have the catcher back there doing that.
And I don't think Kylie was expecting a 3-1 curveball, but he stared that one in for a strike. Now on the 3-2, skies it to right field. Schaub coming in, but not going to get it. Kylie able to get it in front of the right fielder. And just like that, the Beavers strike back and tie this game up at 1.
Yeah, now, Brian, it's been a couple of hits in this inning that have just been muscled to the outfield. Cater still doing a really good job locating pitches, and these Beavers not coming away, leaving the batter's box with a whole lot of hard contact to this point, but they're doing just enough to get runners on base and to scratch one here in the top of the fourth to tie it up.
First pitch to Justin Guest here, a curveball that misses high. So getting behind the batter for a third consecutive at-bat is Cater. Guest the first year from West Windsor, New Jersey, so this is his first ever game at the collegiate level. Guest just able to get a piece of that 1-0 delivery. Corey Cater, yet another one of the Tigers super seniors. We mentioned in the lineup a couple. Wisniewski and Vonderhaar are in their 5th year here at Trinity, and Cater in his 5th year as well. Last year, only threw 11 1/3 innings, due mostly to an elbow injury that kept him out a large part of the season. Didn't have Tommy John surgery, but was out with an elbow injury, but now he is back, excited for his 5th year. And as the opening day starter and now the home opener starter, shows how much confidence the Tigers and Coach Dave Smith, Coach Tim Scannell have in this fifth-year senior.
Yeah, Brian, certainly been a bright spot for the Tigers early on here in the year, even though he's only thrown still less than a full game worth of innings. But I think one of our biggest questions entering the year was, what was this pitching staff going to look like? Who was going to throw? When were they going to throw? I think having Cater as your Friday starter really anchors things, and it's a relief, frankly.
Cater behind 3-1, and a half-hearted swing from Guest there was fooled by the 3-1 fastball, as we've seen Cater willing to go to the breaking ball when behind in the count. So Guest not sure what was coming there, and the count full at 3-2. Kylie at first will be off with the pitch. Cater trying to get the Tigers back to the plate, and that one fouled to the right side in foul territory, and it is caught there next to the Beavers dugout by Vonderhaar, doing a nice job running up against the fence and recording the third out of the inning, but not before Babson strikes back with the tying run. So the Beavers and the Tigers tied at 1 as we head to the bottom of the fourth. Beavers able to tie things up in the top half of the fourth. Tigers now back up, and Brian Schaub looks at that first pitch strike. You want to talk about power at the bottom of a lineup, as Spalter gets back to his quick work. That one outside to Schaub. Schaub, 10th in all of Division III with 14 home runs last year, and he finds himself hitting 7th in this lineup. So no real spot to rest for an opposing pitcher. But Spalter doing a nice job holding the Tigers down so far, just to 1 run. 1 run on 3 hits and 1 error for the Beavers as well. That delivery in the dirt.
Yeah, Brian, because you're an opposing pitcher coming in to face this Tiger lineup, you need to make sure you've been doing your research.
And that research certainly will include a lot of film on Schaub, who skies that one to left field. But once again, the wind playing a factor here, as the fly ball's not going very far, especially getting it out to that left center field gap.
Yeah, that's a couple already here today off the bat of Schaub that perhaps on a little bit of a warmer day would have a chance to leave the yard. You got to figure if anything's going to go, it's probably going to be one of these right-handed hitters pulling something right down that line, trying to get it over that cutout in left field, the tallest part of the wall. But for the Tigers right here, just need to work on stringing together some hits. And Nathan Brolick steps into the box and leaves it with his second hit of the day. So obviously a welcome sign for the Tigers. A lot of changes in this lineup early on in the season, but Brolick earning the start today, and he's delivering with the bat in his hands.
Yeah, Nathan Brolick, really the perfect example of what Coach Tim Scannell's been mentioning to me that I mistook for a good problem to have, and that is having such depth and really a lot of options to start on any given day rather than 9 in a lineup. There's easily 15, 16 guys that could be in that starting 9, and Brolick coming into today just 2 at-bats, and they were both of the pinch hit variety, now getting the start, and he delivers with a 2-for-2 start to the day. And just goes to show that there will have to be a lot of experimenting that goes on, lots of uncertainty with the lineup. And Scannell doesn't love that. He likes to have a set lineup that he can trust, but he knows that it will be quite a while before he finds a 1 through 9 that he will go with every single day.
Yeah, and obviously that's a task that's made more difficult by the departures that we mentioned early on, but I think he'll be okay considering some of those names that he does return. Obviously, we've talked about Schaub. We touched a little bit on Wisniewski a little bit earlier on in the game today, but the likes of those two, both accounting for over 40 runs driven in. Pettit, as we mentioned earlier, sick today, but another guy with over 40 RBIs last season, and just the way in which they did it, so efficient, getting on base. Most of those guys with on-base percentages up over 400. Wisniewski particularly impressive. He had over 50 hits on the year as compared to only 8 strikeouts. So just really awesome performances by those Tigers when they had the bat in their hands last year. So having those names back in the lineup certainly going to make Scannell's job a little bit easier when it comes to finding that perfect order late in the season.
Spalter with the 2-2 here to McNaney. Hit to the right side. Will be unable to get the runner at second. We'll just rely on that easy out at first. So the runner does advance. There are 2 down here in the bottom of the 4th. But the lineup will be turning over as Rigor now coming to the plate with a runner in scoring position. You see him taking a look at third base before stepping in. Gore with a home run himself in Birmingham on Saturday night. And he swings at the first pitch, sends it to the opposite side, and that one is caught out there by right fielder Barichka. So it looked like that one might get down for another run, but a nice job by the right fielder roaming in to get that one. So we are headed to the 5th inning here at Trinity. Tigers and Beavers tied at 1. Corey Cater still on the mound for the Tigers. And he'll face senior Sean Burichka to start the top of the 5th. Burichka waits on that one in the dirt, gets ahead 1-0. Burichka, the senior from Mount Laurel, New Jersey, another one of the names that head coach Matt Noon mentioned as someone he expects to have a big year offensively for the Beavers. As he looks at that one inside for a ball. Beavers not just losing a lot on the mound, they also lost their leading hit and RBI collectors, as well as their leaders in at-bats in Matthew Valente and A.J. DiFilippo. So a lot of lost lumber for these Beavers that they're going to have to replace, and Burichka seemingly going to be one of them. In 17 games played last year, he homered once, drove in 7 runs with an average of .228. Did score 13 runs, and today finds himself in the 7th hole in this lineup and swings through that one up and in. Nice spot there for Cater as he gets back into this count at 2-2.
Yeah, Brian, obviously we've seen a lot of the repertoire from Cater here today. As you mentioned, one thing that he's really trying to work and improve on is throwing that curveball and his breaking ball for the strike kind of in the middle of the zone. He's frozen a lot of hitters with it. We've seen that pitch thrown mostly up and dead middle, but I think we've seen him at his very best today when he's been throwing and locating that fastball. Obviously, we mentioned it last half inning that he's thrown it on both sides of the plate. He's run it back from the outside to catch just the edge. He started it inside the zone and run it in on the hands and away from batters. I think that's really going to be the key to his success in the rest of this one, but obviously for the majority of the rest of this season.
You get a good look at Cater there. Stands quite tall at 6'5". And a full count to Burichka. But like he did in his first at-bat, fouling him back. And as you got that close look at Cater, you might notice his cleats. Something he mentioned, a little bit of a superstition ever since his freshman year here at Trinity, whereas most pitchers just go with the pitcher's toe, as he called it, on the drag foot there. He actually has it on both cleats. Just said something that makes him feel comfortable. And it's worked so far in the year. Mentioned that good start to open the year against Lynchburg, and now doing a good job at home keeping this Babson lineup to just 1 run on 1 hit.
Yeah, Brian, even that 1 run, those hits that we've seen from these Beavers, they weren't easy to come by, and they weren't hard-hit baseballs. A couple of pitches that just had to be muscled into the outfield, and unfortunately for the Tigers, just dropped in some kind of unfortunate spaces right in front of some outfielders. So great work by Cater this one, especially after he rebounded in the middle of that game against Lynchburg. We saw him walk a couple of batters, which led to those couple of runs, but he responded really well in the middle of that game and obviously hasn't been so heavily affected by the one that he's given up here today.
But it is at-bats like these from Burichka, and this is a second time we've seen it from him, just fouling off pitches, extending the at-bat, and it results in that high pitch count, now at 73. And with the quantity of strikeouts and walks that Cater typically racks up, that's why he hasn't been able to go as deep into games as he would like. So Burichka, even though he's 0 for 1 on the day, making quite an impact, and we'll see what he's able to do with yet another 3-2 delivery. Cater bounces that one, and Burichka not even thinking about offering as he heads to first on the well-earned base on balls. So a lead-off walk for Burichka. That'll bring up Cook as the bottom of the lineup tries to make some noise for the Beavers. And a visit to the mound incoming here for Cater.
Yeah, Brian, obviously earlier on in the season right now, 75 pitches is a pretty elevated pitch count. But you have to figure Cater, being in his 5th season in this program, coming off a year where he didn't pitch a whole lot, I'm sure this staff feels comfortable in leaving him out there. Obviously, Scannell will make the trek back to the dugout, but it seems like he's a guy that's going to have a little bit more juice in the tank, especially considering the velocity that we were seeing out of him, or at least hearing the speeds that he was hitting in that first game against Lynchburg last weekend.
We'll see if there's any bunt action on here for Cook, but he is swinging away early, and he is sending that one to right field, right to the glove of Brian Schaub. Thought we might see a sacrifice attempt from the 8-hole hitter, but a hard hit ball ends up in the right place for the Tigers, so a quick out after that long at-bat from Barichka.
Yeah, but really exactly what Cater needed in that one, that prior at-bat. Something that we had talked about trying to avoid earlier on in this one, limiting the free handouts. Cater doing a lot to try and strike guys out, as McEnany makes a nice throw down to second base, but that one just a little bit high, allowing the runner to get in there under the tag. Looked like otherwise there might have been a play there at second base, but obviously that you can see in that last shot, umpire calling the runner safe. It's still a good job in that last at-bat by Cater to respond after that long battle, to come right at the hitter, give him a strike, give him a hittable pitch, and allow the defense in the field behind him to make a play.
Second or third time now, though, we've seen a ball in the dirt get just away a little bit, allowing the runner to advance, and now a runner in scoring position yet again for the Beavers. Patrick Manning will be the one to try to bring him home. Had a nice line drive, but just to the shortstop Montreza last time up. Thought it might be going up the middle for a base hit, but the shortstop right there for the out. But Manning from the left side here looks at that one in the dirt. McNaney doing a nice job getting out in front of it. We expected close games throughout this weekend, and this first one certainly delivering early, as we're just about halfway through this opening game of the series, as Cater drops that one in for a strike, evening up the count. Tigers ranked 15th in Division III according to D3 Baseball, and Babson receiving votes in the top 25, so two very talented teams. Cater's 2-2 on the way, and he gets Manning to wave at that one and head back to the dugout. Big strikeout for Cater. Now 2 outs here in the 5th.
Yeah, Brian, and again, great use of that fastball to hitter standing in on the left side of the plate. Great run on that two-seam. Just gets it a little bit outside of that extended bat past the hitter. Great delivery by Cater there in a huge spot with a runner still in scoring position, but now with 2 outs, Cater in position to get out of this inning unharmed.
Like you said, though, inning not over by any means. Jack Perkle, the top of the lineup, back up for Babson. Perkle, the transfer from LIU Post back in 2019. He looks at that one in the dirt. Barichka trying to take third. McNaney gunning it over there, gets past the third baseman Metz, but right there Montreza able to back him up nicely. But Barichka causing all sorts of issues there on the base pass, and now just 90 feet away from giving Babson their first lead of the afternoon. And it'll be up to the senior Perkle, who, as we mentioned, one of a few Beavers that did start in every single game last year, and he did a lot of damage in those games, hitting .327 with 12 runs batted in. Trying to do more damage here. Looks at that one in for a strike. 1-1 count. 1-1 from Cater, low and away.
Obviously a really big spot right here. Brian Cater needing to do a really good job paying attention to the details. Don't want to give any pitch that's too good. Really doing a good job focusing on hitting those corners right now. A couple of strikes via that two-seam fastball that we've talked so much about, coming back and just catching the plate a little bit. Obviously ahead in the count here, wants to work still in the outside part of the zone, but being conscious of the fact that he has a couple of open bases, certainly avoiding giving up that go-ahead run to the Beavers.
Trying to get Perkle to swing at that one in the dirt, but Perkle laying off and forcing a full count. So a full count, 3-2, tie ball game in the top of the fifth, and Barichka at third. Big moment right here for Cater. You see the Beavers making some noise in their dugout. A few of their fans flying in from Wellesley to support the Beavers. But the Tiger faithful willing Cater on the 3-2. And Perkle once again lays off. So he'll head over to first. Runners at the corners now. Santos coming up to bat.
Yeah, and a really nice job by Perkle right there. Difficult to say what his reaction would have been if Cater had offered something other than that curveball, but Perkle sitting on exactly that pitch. But a good job by Cater not to try and force anything over the heart of the plate, recognizing that he did have open bases, opting for that rather than giving up a hit and the go-ahead run.
So now Santos at the plate, 2 outs and runners at the corners, and that first pitch in for a strike. In on Santos. Nice pitch there to start the at-bat. Santos with just that one start last year and only 9 at-bats for the Beavers in his freshman year. But now the sophomore in a big spot here. Opening day for the Beavers. Cater's 0-1 on the way, and that's foul back. Cater getting ahead 0-2 here, right where he wants to be, and now he has his entire arsenal to work with. We'll have to see what he decides to go with. Seven strikeouts on the afternoon for Cater and looking for a big number 8. Looking into the sign for McNaney. McNaney asking for it high. Cater getting it high, but Santos not fooled. And he'll get another chance at 1-2.
Yeah, Brian, the catcher obviously asking for that pitch up, putting the glove well above his head. Never really want to see an offer that high. A little bit of a wasted pitch right there. You want that pitch up, elevated clearly, but you want it more around the Babson lettering on that uniform. Something that's going to make the hitter just think about it a little bit, get those hands started, and hopefully they're not going to slow down. And either you get him to swing under it, or you get a check swing and you get the benefit of the doubt by the umpire.
But perhaps just a change of eye level and going with the breaking ball now. But Santos doing a nice job fighting it off. That got in on his hands, but able to get contact and hit it into his own dugout to stay alive. Cater's splitter and slider able to fool hitters easily, so we'll see if that high fastball with 2 strikes helps him out here as the 1-2 once again from Cater on its way. McNaney set up inside in the dirt, able to block it, and the runner advances to second, so now 2 runners in scoring position with 2 outs and an even bigger opportunity now for Santos, who has an even count at 2-2. Will be pitch 94 on the afternoon, and it'll have to wait just a little bit longer as Santos calls timeout. Big moment here for the sophomore from Bethany, Connecticut.
Yeah, Brian, that last at bat, we saw Cater go with that curveball at the very end of it, something that the hitter wasn't going to be able to put a bat on. Right here, got to like that two seam again, something running to the outside. That one put in play to the left field. That one's going to get down and score 2 runs for the Beavers right there. As Santos comes through to deliver that 2-out hit, plating 2 runs right there. It was that two seam fastball, but that one just started a little bit too close to the hitter's hands, staying right over the heart of the plate. He did a good job to get the barrel on the baseball for the Babson Beavers. One of the hardest hit balls that we've seen all day. Came in a really unfortunate spot here for the Tigers.
Yeah, so the good at-bats resulting in 2 runs for the Beavers, and they are not done yet. Lapham slaps that one to the left side. It gets down. Runner about to round third and head for home. He slips though and will stay at third, but the Beavers are rolling now as runners on second and third once again. And they're already up 2 here in the top of the 5th.
Yeah, Brian, and in this one, it doesn't seem as if it's been the Beavers really figuring it out, seeing those replays, those last 2 pitches really starting to drift more so over the heart of the plate for Cater. So just as that pitch count begins to tick up, now all the way at 95 pitches, control starting to be a little bit in question for these coaches. Obviously, still a ton of trust in this guy, hoping right here that he'll be able to guide them out of this inning. And of course, only in a 2-run game, you know that this is a Tiger lineup that's going to be more than capable of producing runs, especially only in the 5th inning still.
Yellen, first pitch swinging once again, and he is going to deliver 2 runs for the Beavers, and you see them outside their dugout cheering their teammate on. They are delivering with the big 2-out hits, and look up at the scoreboard after blinking for just a second, and Babson suddenly up 5-1 in the 5th. Lapham and then Yellen not wasting any time, both swinging at the first pitch and both getting a base knock. Kiley not swinging at the first pitch, but all things looking up for the Beavers after a tough start offensively. The first 3 innings, they now have 5 runs in these past 2, 4 of which have come right here in the 5th. Cater trying to get out of it. Gets the first strike there to even up the count at 1. Had been such a good start to this game for Cater. Just 1 walk coming into the inning, but now up to 3. Does have 7 strikeouts, but now 5 hits for Babson and 5 runs on the board. We do see a man warming up in the bullpen for the Tigers, so whether it's in this inning or the next, have to think that Cater's afternoon is running out of time. But he'll try to end it on a high note. The 1-2 to Kiley, grounded to third. Metz collects that one and gets it to Vonderhaar for the 3rd out of the inning, but not before the Beavers claw 4 runs across the plate, and they take a 5-1 lead here in San Antonio. Tigers looking to make a comeback, and we'll be right back on Tiger Network. Welcome back to Tiger Network, where Tristan Spalter has been rewarded for battling against this tough Tiger lineup. And suddenly on the mound with a 5-1 lead, he'll start off with a tough chopper from Montreza, and he will beat it out. So just what the Tigers are looking for after giving up the lead. Leadoff runner here, and the heart of the lineup coming to the plate. You said it right before the break, Luke. This is a Tiger team that is more than capable of scoring runs. Averaged over 9 runs a game last year. Of course, they had to average 9 to win some games, as they also averaged 5 runs allowed with a 5.5 ERA as a staff. So this lineup knows what it takes to come back. They did it a lot last year, and they'll have to do it again if they're going to keep this win streak going early in the season.
Yeah, Brian, and for this group of guys, it really just seems like a matter of picking up the bat and swinging it on most days. Obviously, last weekend, that game against Lynchburg, an exception, but these are a group of exceptional hitters. It's very telling given the fact that they have guys like Schaub so far down in their lineup with as much pop as he has in his bat. But obviously, Wisniewski, someone that we talked about earlier in this one, posting 50 hits on the season last year as opposed to just 8 strikeouts. So that's what the Tigers need right now, is guys to swing the bat, put the ball in play, and give them the opportunity to score some runs.
Wisniewski does put the ball in play, and it gets past the first baseman, Yellen. Montreza will head over to third, and the Tigers quickly have something cooking here in the bottom of the 5th.
Yeah, Brian, and now for the Tigers, the third time through the order against Spalter, really seemingly figuring some things out. Obviously, some success earlier on in this one. Spalter settling down a little bit, but now the Tigers really getting their timing down. And with 2 runners on, nobody out, there's probably no one you'd rather have in the box right now than MJ Metz.
Definitely the type of guy that could bring this game back with one swing of the bat. Getting to watch this team during the Fall World Series, no one was hotter than MJ Metz, just crushing home run after home run. We'll see if he is able to deliver big here. Looks at that first one for a strike. Metz from San Diego, California. Not a fan of this cold weather is the Southern California boy. But he is a fan of that pitch, which he sends the other way, and he gets it off the wall. Montreza will score. Wisniewski will hold up at third, but MJ Metz stands in with a double. And the Tigers right back in this game off of the RBI double from MJ Metz that nearly got out of here.
Yeah, Brian, and after saying that more than likely we weren't going to see anyone hit the ball out to right field, and if anyone was going to do it, they were going to have to pull one hard down the left field line, MJ Metz goes ahead and steps in from the right side of the box and hammers one off that right field wall. Exactly what the Tigers needed here in the bottom of the 5th. Obviously scratching a run right there, but keeping guys on base and just passing the baton from teammate to teammate to get this rally going is really what's going to be important.
So now the man that delivered the first run of the afternoon for the Tigers, Christian Holloway, will have the opportunity to cut into this deficit even more. Sophomore from Brownsville, Texas. Also someone not used to the cold, but it has not stopped him today from hitting the ball hard a couple times. And he hits it hard the other way, but foul. Coach Noon mentioning to me that he thinks what makes New England teams so tough and gritty is the fact that they have to deal with the cold. So the Beavers used to this weather, Tigers not. But Holloway gets that out to right field, caught by the right fielder and got into the infield quickly. So a nice job by Barichka holding the runners at second and third. Thought that might be deep enough, but down 3, probably not worth the risk. You see Wisniewski faking the attempt home. Instead, Jack Vonderhaar steps to the plate as the tying run here in the bottom of the fifth. Vonderhaar 0 for 2 on the day. He looks at that one low for a ball to start this at-bat.
Yeah, Brian, but in that last at-bat, we saw him absolutely smoke a ball. Unfortunately, just hit it right at the first baseman. Similar result right here. Hoping that this time one gets by him down the line, would score both runs for the Tigers.
He gets ahead 1-0, and the pitch from Spalter is lined out to center field. Wisniewski tagging. Ball is caught, but Wisniewski will walk home safely. Sacrifice fly for Vonderhaar, and the Tigers get another one back.
Yeah, and great approach from the Tigers in this half inning so far, Brian. Unfortunate for Holloway in that last at-bat. And again, for Vonderhaar right there, a couple of Tiger hitters that were really willing to do whatever it takes to put the ball in play, trying to use the entire field. Unfortunately for both of those guys, they just batted it right at a couple of Beavers into the outfield. But the important thing so far in this one is you scratch a couple of runs, you cut that deficit in half, and even if they don't score another right here, they'll have 3 more opportunities to step to the plate with 9 outs left after the bottom of the 5th.
Plenty of time for these Tigers to get back in it. And Schaub, trying to do his part, looks at a off-speed delivery there from Spalter. Gets the count back to 1-1.
Obviously, we've talked a lot about his power so far here today, but one thing that's really contributed to that in his career as a Tiger has been his ability to really, really hunt the fastball. I know in that first at-bat, one that he skied out to left field, it looked like Spalter threw him a curveball, and it just got off the end of Schaub's bat, but he spit out that last one. I know right now, with a runner in scoring position, he's hunting fastball again.
Instead, he got a breaking ball, and he just missed that one. He looked ready. Risky pitch there for Spalter, really hung in the zone for quite a while. Schaub just unable to connect. So the count here 2-2, 2 outs and 2 runs already across for the Tigers. Spalter trying to get his team back in the dugout. Schaub in his second year as a Trinity Tiger, transferring from the University of Richmond. The former Spider having a great first year, and he looks at that one well off the plate, taking this count full.
Right here for Spalter, Brian, a similar position that Cater was in this last half inning. Obviously a full count, but a dangerous hitter at the plate. Don't want to give him anything too good. Does a good job right there. Schaub responds by battling that one off, fouling it down the right line. But with that first base open, certainly more willing to give up that free pass than the opportunity for Mets to score and make this a 1-run game.
Wouldn't surprise anyone to see Brian Schaub draw a walk. And on that 3-2 delivery, he checks his swing and does earn the trip to first base. Schaub leading the entire nation, all of Division III, in walks last year. He had 43 base on balls. And no surprise, because when you have 14 home runs, I wouldn't want to pitch to him either. But that will bring up someone who has been pretty much the hottest Tiger in the lineup today. 2 for 2 is Nathan Brolick, and he'll have an opportunity to drive home a run or two.
Yeah, Brian, and for Brolick, another guy not trying to do too much and has been, not going to say lucky, but has definitely benefited by being able to find the holes in this Babson defense so far here today. Couple of balls batted through that right side of the infield.
That's sometimes all it takes. We saw Vonderhaar rocket one right to a man for an out. So if you can get a couple of hits, even if they're not hit hard, that's all you need in baseball. And always love seeing the early season batting averages. Brolick at 750. Hall of Fame type numbers there. Get a good look at Spalter there, the sophomore from Sargentsville, New Jersey, making his first career start for the Babson Beavers. Couple of appearances out of the bullpen last year, but Coach Matt Noon trusting him with the opening day start, trying to get out of trouble here. 0-2 pitch, just a bit outside. MJ Metz standing there at second, Schaub at first. Brolick waiting back on that off-speed delivery and able to foul it the other way to stay alive. Brolick in this first start this year, used to big moments because last year coming into pinch hit a lot. Made 8 appearances, and a lot of those were off the bench in big moments. And he looks at that one high and away once again. So Spalter trying to get that outside corner, but missing just a little bit out.
Yeah, Brian, no matter what the outcome of this at-bat right here, it's going to be a third quality at-bat for Brolick on the day, especially here after falling down 0-2 to spit out a couple of pitches. Now a third in a row, and to make this a full count here with a couple runners on, 2 outs. Huge spot for Brolick, and just an excellent job by a guy that we last year didn't see in the lineup a whole lot, as you already mentioned.
And like you pointed out with the 3-2 count, 2 outs, runners will get a head start here, so any ball in the gap likely would tie this game up. Brolick trying to connect here, awaits the 3-2 from Spalter, and he stares at 4 in a row, and the bases will be loaded for the Tigers, and Matt McNaney coming to the plate trying to deliver. Excellent at-bat there from Brolick. Fighting back from down 0-2, Spalter trying to get the pitch in the perfect spot, unable to do so, and then Brolick doing a nice job laying off the 2 off-speed pitches in the dirt. And now the sophomore catcher from Albuquerque fouls that first pitch back. And so often happens in baseball, the guy who was not supposed to play gets the big moment and the big opportunity. Matt McNaney mentioning to us before the game, he didn't know he was going to start today. It was supposed to be Tyler Pettit behind the plate, but McNaney stepping in and trying to deliver in this huge moment, looks at that one away.
Yeah, Brian, obviously talking to him before this one, as you alluded to, talked about going to bed last night, making the assumption that Pettit was going to be behind the plate for the Tigers, but to wake up and to have your name called in the home opener of the season certainly couldn't be a bad feeling. Obviously a huge spot for him here.
He sends this one way up in the air and will go out of play into the crowd of parents there all bundled up. Love seeing all the beanies out here in South Texas. I know I pulled out a beanie for the first time in my life here. We're not quite as strong as our fellow viewers from Massachusetts. We're not used to these cold winters. McNaney waits the 1-2, and that breaking ball gets on the corner. Called third strike on McNaney. Tough break there. Looked like that one might be a little off the plate, but Spalter able to get out of a big jam to keep the score at 5-3, but the Tigers do get 2 runs back here in the bottom of the 5th. They cut the Babson lead in half. We are 5 innings through here in San Antonio. And we will be right back on Tiger Network to bring you the rest of this one. Welcome back to Tiger Network, where Corey Cater remains on the mound. A little bit of a surprise to both Luke and I. Thought after those 4 runs in the top of the 5th, and with the pitch count now reaching the century mark, that we might have seen the last of Cater, but here he is in the top of the 6th, facing Justin Guest of the Beavers, who looks at that one for a strike. Beavers delivering 3 hits and 4 runs in their last half inning. Tigers able to respond with 2 runs of their own to keep this game close here halfway through the home opener for the Tigers. Splitter there from Cater, fouled back from Guest. Mentioned it was 2 years from this date, around this date, that the Tigers last had fans here at a home game. That game against DeSales, but just before that, about a week ahead of that, it was these Babson Beavers in town for a 3-game series. Tigers taking 2 of 3 back in 2020. And these are some familiar foes. Babson has faced Trinity 3 of the last 4 seasons. These two teams like facing one another, and part of the reason for that connection, look no further than the 2 head coaches of these squads. Coach Tim Scannell playing at Northeastern University up in Boston, and head coach Matt Noon for Babson was the pitching coach there. As Cater gets Guest to swing around on that one, tried to check his swing, but it'll be strike number 3. But head coach Matt Noon, it was his first year as an assistant coach coming out of his playing days at Princeton University that he began coaching at Northeastern, and Tim Scannell was a senior at the time for the Huskies, so making that connection, and they've held on to that friendship for about 20 years now. And a big reason why Babson loves coming to San Antonio. This Cater, after the strikeout, gets a strike to start this at-bat to Barichka.
Yeah, Brian, a great start to this inning here by Cater. Obviously, both of us a little bit surprised to see him start this one when he was already right around the century mark. But this is exactly what this staff needed to do after giving up 4 that last half. Coming out, getting 3 quick outs to get the bats back out into the boxes after they had gotten so hot is going to be really important if the Tigers are going to end up mounting the comeback in this one.
No pitcher has been able to have that elusive shutdown inning, what they call the inning right after your team scores, being able to shut down the other team and get your lineup right back out there. We saw as soon as the Tigers took a 1-0 lead, Cater gave up the tying run to make it 1-1. And then Spalter, as soon as he got a 5-1 advantage himself, he gives up 2 to the Tigers. So now Cater trying to get his team back out there in a timely manner. Barichka fouling that one past third base, though, and if it's any indication of what we've seen so far from Barichka, we can expect some more foul balls. He is really making Cater work.
Yeah, in a scenario like this for Cater, you really want to go right after the guy that's been making you work. Barichka obviously has shown his ability in the box to lay off on pitches that are outside and then fouling off those ones that are close. Cater does a good job right there, putting that one in a tough spot for Barichka to put in play with anything more than that soft contact back to him, and all of a sudden the Tigers do have 2 outs here.
Yeah, really tough pitch to get to for Barichka, running in on his hands. Must not feel good with that below 40-degree weather. Two outs now here in the top of the 6th, and it'll be up to Michael Cook to keep things going for the Beavers. That curveball to open up the at-bat just a little low. Looks like Cater wanted that one. Cook awaits the 1-0, and he swings at that one, sends it to the shortstop, Montreza. with the smooth throw over to first. And a 1-2-3 inning for Corey Cater. So just what the doctor ordered. Tigers going to get a chance to get right back into this one after scoring 2 in the last inning. They'll need 2 more to tie things up here in San Antonio. New pitcher here on the mound for the Babson Beavers. It is Nate Carpenter, the senior from Groveland, Massachusetts, who will have the tough assignment of dealing with the top of this Tiger lineup. Ezra Gore at the plate. Gore chops that one too short. Has to work quickly to get the speedy Gore, but able to get it over there is Perkle. So a quick first out for Carpenter. Carpenter with just 1 appearance last year for the Beavers. Did have 7 appearances his freshman year, going for 15 innings and recording an ERA of 4.6. Didn't see a whole lot of time last year, though, but looks like the senior going to be one of the go-to arms for Coach Noon in tight situations, and Montreza swinging early as well. Just a ground ball over to third. That is no trouble for Santos. So out of the pen, Carpenter doing a nice job getting the first 2 Tigers quickly.
Yeah, Brian, 2 pitches, 2 outs is certainly not something that you want to see for the Tigers, especially when you have a new pitcher entering the game. Want to see a couple of pitches, want to see something other than that fastball offering. Just if for anything at all, those guys that are still in the dugout and are going to come up to the plate these next couple of at-bats and next inning, get a little bit of a better feel for what Carpenter's throwing out there in terms of velo, what he has in that repertoire. Already a better job by Wisniewski right here. Looking at that first one.
Wisniewski with the 3rd ground ball of the inning, so quick work for Carpenter. 3 outs on the ground will retire the Tigers quickly here in the 6th. We'll head to the top of the 7th. Babson with a 5-3 lead. New pitcher on the mound now for the Tigers. Jonathan Newman in to replace Corey Cater. And he'll face Patrick Manning, the 9-hole hitter, to get things going. Cater finishing up with 6 innings, 5 hits, 5 runs, striking out 8 and walking 3. Really just that one tough inning for Cater, but other than that, looking sharp. And that last inning especially, a key to just extend the game and get into these Tiger relievers. And Jonathan Newman, the first man called in from the arm barn. He gets behind Manning here.
And Brian, I'm not going to argue knowing all your antics, but arm barn, certainly a new one, and I'm a bit curious to see where that comes from.
Oh, I'm glad you noticed that, as Newman gets back in the count here, ties it up at 2-2. Several months ago, the animal rights organization, PETA, they came out against the term bullpen, as Newman, with a great changeup there to get Manning swinging, great job out of the arm barn, which they are advocating as the new term to replace bullpen, because they think bullpen is offensive to the bull animal, so they are going with arm barn, no mention of animal, but they think it gets the concept across, and just thought I would give it a shot, see what people think. You could leave comments on the YouTube channel. I'm sure you might have opinions, but I don't know, might try it out.
Yeah, Brian, and I don't know what your feelings are towards PETA's reasoning for the usage, but I do certainly know that no matter what, you're going to welcome any new slang that you can throw in these broadcasts.
I mean, 9 innings is a long time, and we're getting ready for a home slate of 22 home games, so you've got to come up with new things to say, and I welcome any suggestions like arm barn, so we'll just have to try it on for size and see what people think. I think it's worth a shot.
Absolutely. I think as the season goes along, knowing you'll have your own interesting terminology that you'll begin to adopt, and I think it'll be a pleasure, an added pleasure of calling these games here on Tiger Network with you.
I mean, you never know, might throw in some volleyball verbiage or some basketball terminology. We've just been all over the place here on Tiger Network. So lucky to get to bring you all Tiger athletics. And finally, baseball season here in February, as Jonathan Newman, the first new face on the mound, replacing Cater, gave up a base hit to Perkle, who is at first. And now a high pop-up going into foul territory. But it looks like that one just out of the reach of any Tiger defenders. Newman also the go-to last Friday in Birmingham to replace Cater, and he did an excellent job out of the arm barn. 4 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, gave up 4 hits but struck out 5 against Lynchburg. And the 1-2 fought off by Santos. Newman keeping a close eye on Perkle over there at first, who did have 5 stolen bases last year, and he'll check on him once again there. Newman, when he is going well, according to Dave Smith, look for lots of ground balls, especially coming off of that changeup. But here looking to go high on Santos, and it is driven into the ground foul the other way. Newman, someone who likes to work down in the zone, would be perfect here with the runner on first to stir up a double play and get the Tigers back out to the batter's box. Get a good look at Newman shaking off the first call from McNaney, now getting things in order, and that changeup is taken too short. 6-4-3 double play. Newman right on cue gets the ground ball and gets the 2 out, so the Tigers will stretch here in San Antonio and hope to come out of it with a new opportunity at getting right back in this game. Newman doing his job out of the barn. And we'll take a quick break on Tiger Network. Make sure to stand up and stretch. We've got a good one here in San Antonio. Hope you got in a good stretch there in the middle of the 7th inning and are ready for what should be a thrilling final 3 innings here from the campus of Trinity University in San Antonio. The 15th ranked Tigers hosting the Babson Beavers. Home opener for the Tigers, opening day for the Beavers. And MJ Metz at the plate trying to start a rally for the Tigers. Nate Carpenter making such quick work of things last inning didn't allow me to recap who he was replacing. And after this 1-1 to Metz, which he chops foul, get to comment on Tristan Spalter's first career start, and he did quite a good job, allowing 3 runs in 5 innings worked. Did give up 7 hits, but he spread them across nicely, 4 walks as well, but was able to limit the damage, especially in his last inning. Escaped a bases-loaded jam to keep his lead at 5-3 before handing it off to Carpenter. Carpenter got 3 ground ball outs last inning. This one on the ground, but it gets past the third baseman and into left field. So MJ Metz with his second base knock of the afternoon. And the Tigers get the leadoff man on and the tying run to the plate.
Yeah, Brian, and obviously that last half inning for the Tigers, unfortunate that they saw so few pitches, but one of the bright spots that you could take away was that everyone that walked up to the plate left it with a hard batted ball. And again, we see the same result right there for MJ Metz, who finds a hole in this Babson infield. Christian Holloway steps back to the plate, another Tiger who's having himself a day, as they, as a collective, look to get back into this one, down 2 here in the bottom of the 7th.
Carpenter checking on Metz over there at first, but probably would be well served focusing on Holloway, who has hit the ball hard all 3 times to the plate today. One of those resulting in an RBI single up the middle. Holloway going 3 for 11 this past weekend in Birmingham. Struck out 5 times, but has been getting good contact on the ball today. And he has a 1-0 count to work with here, as the skies continue to get darker here in San Antonio, evening upon us. And MJ Metz takes advantage of the ball in the dirt. Little delayed steal there for the big third baseman. No one on Babson seemed to be aware he took off on that. So Holloway, runner on second, nobody out.
Yeah, and perhaps a hit and run on for the Tigers right there as we saw Holloway swing over the top of that one. But Mets just getting a really good pitch to run on that one in the dirt. Catcher not fielding it cleanly, and he's at second base without any problem.
And it looks like 2 consecutive changeups that have landed in there for strikes from Carpenter. First one had Holloway swinging over the top of it. That one in the corner. Mets jumping around there at second, distracting Carpenter. That one in the dirt. Mets nearly taking off. Instead, scurries back to the bag. But the distraction certainly there. Certainly all 6'5", 225 from Mets, clearly in the vision of Carpenter. Now time called at the plate. Fantastic look at Holloway, the designated hitter. That one dribbles up the third base line, but will go foul.
But a good job by Holloway right there, recognizing that it's a close pitch, recognizing that he has the need to foul that one off, at least battle it off, puts just enough of the bat on that one. He's lucky enough to come away with a foul ball right there, and he'll step back into the box with the opportunity to deliver right here for Trinity.
Yeah, and that great view, another look at the fans. For those confused, beanie is a term for winter hat, at least down here. And that ball gets away from Perkle, and Lapham unable to back it up. And Mets will get over to third, so Carpenter falling for the trap set by Mets, trying to pick him off. Instead sends it into center field, and now 90 feet away is Mets. Holloway now can drive him in with just about anything in play. He'll ground that one foul to the Tigers' dugout.
Yeah, Brian, and obviously if you're Carpenter, you want to try and keep MJ Mets honest there at second base, but really have to recognize that Mets, not the speediest of guys on this Trinity roster, and certainly not one that's likely to try and snag third, especially when you have a guy like Kiley behind the plate, as you mentioned earlier on in this one, was named the NUAC Conference Newcomer of the Year last season. So if you're a Carpenter coming into this one, really have to trust the guy that you have behind the plate to throw out a runner like Mets if he happens to go.
Long at-bat here by Holloway, and it'll continue as he takes that ball outside, running the count full. To your point, Luke, it's not that Mets isn't the fastest. He is able to take the bases when they're given to him. Had 5 steals, not caught once, but didn't really seem like the time to steal third. But he drew the focus, and now Holloway chops it to the shortstop, Perkle. Gets the out at first, but the run will score. So the Tigers within 1 here in the bottom of the 7th. They continue to fight back from that 5-1 deficit.
Yeah, just a good job by Holloway in that at-bat after falling down really early on, battled all the way back. Obviously, that ball that found its way into the outfield from Carpenter allowed Mets to advance to third, but it also allowed Holloway to do a little bit more with that at-bat than it originally looked like he'd be able to, and he walks away from it with an RBI.
Now no runners on, 1 out for Jack Vonderhaar, who pulls that one deep, but foul. You see the power in the bat of Vonderhaar. 6 home runs in 2021. Easily someone who could tie things up with 1 swing, and he sends it to left field, sending the left fielder over and making the fantastic sliding catch over there is Cook. Real tough angle for him there as the ball was slicing away from him. And if it gets past him, probably 2, maybe 3 bases for Vonderhaar. But instead, a nice play to keep runners off and bring Brian Schaub to the plate with no one on.
Yeah, Brian, you're right that's a risky play to be made really in either corner of the outfield as you approach those lines. You obviously don't have that help and that backup from your center fielder, so you want to be really sure when you dive for a ball that you're going to come away with the catch, lest the runner, that batter, advances and grabs a couple extra bags because of it. But for Vonderhaar on the day, that's another ball, another batted ball that's really well struck, and in most instances, in most games, you have to feel as if it should get down, but he remains hitless here on the day for the Tigers.
Brian Schaub, meanwhile, will remain hitless as well as he just kind of pokes that one over to the first baseman, Yellen, but he takes care of it for out number 3. The Tigers do get one more, and they're within one. We're headed to the top of the 8th. Babson up 5-4 over the 15th ranked Trinity Tigers. We've got a close one here in San Antonio. 5-4 lead for the Beavers in the top of the 8th. And Jonathan Newman trying to keep things right there for the Tigers as he faces the heart of this Beaver lineup. And Thomas Lapham drops down a bunt trying to catch the defense napping, but it goes foul. Interesting to see there from Lapham, someone who hit over 300 last year. And has some pop in the bat, electing to bunt to lead off the inning. But he'll head back to the batter's box, keep this at bat going at 1-1. Newman, you see, ready on the rubber, waiting for Lapham to step in. That changeup stays high, and Lapham able to drive it out to center field, where it will be caught by Ezra Gore out there. So that changeup hangs a little bit, but Newman gets away with it. So 3 pitches and 1 out here in the 8th. That'll bring up cleanup hitter Josh Yellen. First pitch to Yellen, a strike on the outside corner. And you see Yellen having a great day at the plate. The senior from Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. Looks at that one in the dirt. So many of these Beavers coming from the New England area, but Yellen from Michigan. And that 1-1 fastball fouled back by Yellen. Newman coming into the game last Friday, but last season did not pitch at all for the Tigers. In fact, he came to Trinity as a catcher. And he gets Yellen to swing and miss at that one. Great off-speed pitch for Newman. Newman had pitched in high school in his hometown of Pearland, Texas, just outside of Houston, but when he started his time here at Trinity, was planning to catch, but then showed some stuff on the mound. Coach Scannell, Coach Smith liking what they're seeing, and it's resulted in 2 early appearances here in big spots against really good teams to start the season. First against Lynchburg, now against Babson here in a tight game. So quite the transformation for Newman. And he's gotten 2 quick outs here and a late timeout now called. That floater would have been a strike if the umpire had allowed it.
Yeah, a little bit of an eephus pitch right there for Newman, Brian. But one of the things that I think has been really impressive is the consistency with which he's thrown the baseball in the zone and how tight the movement on these pitches have been so far. Looks like he's another guy that's throwing that fastball as a two-seamer, but much less movement on it than we saw out of Cater in the opening. We've also seen that curveball a couple times, but that's a fastball right there that you right next to me are almost groaning. The folks at home can't hear him, but he's moving in his seat because that fastball looked like it caught a lot of the plate. It's certainly one that we've seen called a couple times, but he reaches out to knock that one down, makes a bit of a high throw on to first. Von der Haar able to bring it in and record the third out. So really impressive stuff from Newman Bryan. Really quick work of the Beavers here in the top of the eighth.
Certainly working very quickly, getting right to the mound and dealing his pitches, getting his team back out there just like the Tigers want. So we are headed to the bottom of the eighth here on Tiger Network. Trinity trying to complete this comeback, down just one. Another trip to the Arm Barn for Coach Noon and the Beavers, this time calling on senior William Cornyn from Pembroke, Massachusetts. The senior with the funky arm action has actually never pitched at Babson. So even though he's a senior, has never gotten into action, but right here, being trusted with a big opportunity to hold his team's lead on the road against the 15th ranked Tigers, and really speaks to what Coach Noon and the Beavers are dealing with. 5 of their 6 pitchers who threw over 68% of the innings for the Beavers last year have either graduated or transferred. And Coach Noon absolutely agreeing that the number one concern going into this season, pitching. And we've seen him go to a couple of guys that didn't have a lot of action. The start to Spalter, his first of his career. Now Cornyn coming in for the first time as a Beaver, and Carpenter, who just pitched once last year. So some new names for the Beavers, but they've done their job. And Cornyn gets Brolick on the second pitch of this inning to ground out to second.
Yeah, Brian, but something that we discussed a little bit before the start of this one is the idea that maybe that 68% is a little bit deceiving. We already talked earlier in the broadcast about this Babson side having 8 of their games canceled during their 2021 campaign, but in total they only played 17. So when you get those games spaced out, you have to believe that more than likely this is a coaching staff that was going to a guy that got selected as a first-team All-American by a couple of different sources. They were going to another guy that was a transfer to a Division I school. That's only natural. So it's not to say that they didn't have talent and that they didn't have arms in this bullpen, or as you like to call it, Brian, the arm barn last year. But when you have the opportunity to throw those best arms, that's what you're going to do. Rest assured, this is a Babson program that's been really successful. We talked about it earlier in their appearance in that 2019 College Baseball World Series. So I'm sure that they've recruited, and now these guys are finally having the opportunity to go out and show what they've got.
Cornyn trying to make the most of this opportunity, and he faces a new name for the Tigers at the plate. The pinch hitter Brandon Nelson gets his first career at-bat at home He got his first career start on Sunday afternoon in Birmingham, the first year from Missouri City. Chops this one to the right side, hustling it out, but throw will beat him there. So Nelson coming in off the bench, replacing McNaney in the 9-hole. Trying to get a little pop down there, but results in the second out of the inning. But Luke, you're talking about those two arms for the Beavers, and some powerful ones at that. Jordy Allard and Henry Leak, those two elite arms you're referring to. Allard becoming the first Beaver to earn first-team All-American honors from two different sources. Is that first pitch a ball to Gore? Both the American Baseball Coaches Association and D3Baseball.com naming Allard a first-team All-American. That pitch to Gore once again outside. Allard going a phenomenal 7-0 with a .91 ERA. And doing such a good job as Cornyn, afraid seemingly here of Gore, not giving him anything to work with. Allard leaving Babson after his senior year and now pitching for Division I team Northeastern, team we've talked about today. The Huskies benefiting from the transfer from Babson. So he is the main starter that these Beavers are trying to replace, and not an easy task to do, as Gore fouls back a 3-1 delivery here. Cornyn falling behind 3-0, but getting back in the count, driving it full. And not only is Gore a powerful bat, but also a speedy presence on the base paths, not someone you want on, but Cornyn will get to find out what it's like to have Ezra Gore at first. Might not be there for long. 8 stolen bases caught just once last year for Ezra Gore, and that's in just 18 games. Ezra, a little bit busy last spring, also playing football for the Tigers, and with all 18 sports happening at once last year, he had to miss the beginning of baseball season before coming over just in time for the SCAC tournament. But we'll see if he elects to go. Not going there, and the ball in there for a strike on Montreza. Looking over to third. Perhaps a hit and run or steal going on, just making sure before he steps back into the batter's box. Gore does draw a throw here from Cornyn. Tigers looking for a little 2-out magic here. Gore on first, Montreza at the plate. Gore is off and going, but Montreza fouls it right in front of the plate, so Gore will head back to first. Montreza back to the box.
Yeah, Brian, but Montreza himself is someone that already in this game we've seen beat out a couple of infield ground balls. So for those Babson infielders, certainly can't fall asleep worrying about Ezra Gore as he takes off right here.
And he is thrown out at second base. A phenomenal throw from the catcher, Kiley. You'll get to see the replay right here. The pitch outside, almost serving as a pitch out. Don't know if that was intentional. And then the shortstop, Perkle, able to get the high throw, put the tag down. So Cornyn able to do a nice job to limit that running ability from Gore. And it's time for the 9th inning. Just like that. Tigers trailing by 1. We'll see what's in store as we head to the final inning here in San Antonio. time for the top of the ninth here in San Antonio. Jonathan Newman on the mound for the Tigers. And Justin Guest at the plate for the Beavers. Guest 0 for 3 on the day. Still looking for career hit number 1. Newman has done a great job in relief of Corey Cater. Already 2 innings pitched. Just 1 hit and 2 strikeouts. And he gets Guest to fan at that one. You see Newman attacking the upper part of the zone and getting ahead 0-2. That last pitch just a little bit outside. Newman working so quickly, not even letting the replay show you what happened on the previous pitch. Newman feeling good and trying to go quickly, but now Guest, sensing that, takes a little timeout to break up Newman's rhythm, but he's right back at it, and the breaking ball taken by Guest.
Yeah, but a good idea from Newman right there. We saw in that last half inning, the strikeout that came via that really tight breaking ball makes it a really, really competitive pitch, more so than those big looping ones that we see thrown for strikes. That offering from Newman really going to get a lot more swing and misses right over the top of that pitch. So definitely something to consider going back to here at some point in this at-bat.
2-2. He does go to the off-speed pitch, and he gets Guest to swing over the top of it. Great job mixing his pitches and keeping Guest guessing. Gets the first out of the inning to bring up Barichka. Barichka 0 for 2 today, but that is deceiving because he has had some of the best at-bats for the Beavers. Fouling pitch after pitch. One of the big reasons that Cater got over the century mark in the pitch count, the long at-bats to Barichka. He fouls this one down the third base line. Nice effort there from the Tigers bullpen to corral that.
Yeah, Brian, and you mentioned those at-bats that he had against Cater. Those first 2 coming in the second and fifth innings, those alone accounted for 16 of Cater's pitches, and he was up there again in the sixth, but that one, a much simpler effort from Cater as he was able to get Barichka to ground out on just 4 pitches. But to see or force 20 pitchers out of the Tigers starter in this one really seemingly played a big role in the way that this one's unfurled here today.
Yeah, I mean, Cater threw just over 100 pitches, so 20 of them coming to just one guy. That's 20% of the pitches going to just one hitter. Pretty impressive effort from Barichka. Newman ready with the 2-2. Ring him up, says the home plate umpire. Barichka standing thinking he had a chance to stay in the box, but the umpire has other plans as Newman gets strikeout number 4. There are 2 outs now here in the ninth. Tigers hoping for an opportunity to come back from down just 1 here in the bottom half of the inning. And Michael Cook, all that stands in the way. First pitch to Cook, down and in for a ball. One 0 from Newman in once again, so Cook gets ahead 2-0. Might notice the new catcher behind the plate for the Tigers. That's Nick Lazera. His first career appearance coming as a defensive replacement for McNaney, who was pinch hit for. Might get an at-bat if things get to him in the ninth. But for now, trying to guide Newman, who walks Cook here on 4 pitches. So after some quick work of the first 2 in this inning, Cook draws a 4-pitch walk. And that'll bring up the 9-hole hitter, Manning. Manning takes that one away. So Newman with 5 consecutive balls thrown here, trying to get back in a rhythm. Has given up 1 hit and 1 walk in 2 2/3, striking out 4 along the way. Pitched 4 innings a week ago today against Lynchburg and trying to complete inning number 3. The 1-0-2 Manning trying to get the off-speed to break in the zone, but just going outside, and it'll draw a visit to the mound. 6 consecutive balls now. And pitching coach Dave Smith out to have a conversation with his pitcher and catcher.
Yeah, Brian, right here, I'm sure this discussion just revolving around the fact that if there's anyone in this Babson lineup that you really want to attack and go after, it's Manning. And it's for a couple of different reasons. Obviously, Manning stepping in here in the 9-hole, this is an opportunity for you to go out and get off the field before you have to face the top of the lineup, keeping this at a 1-run game. Secondly, Manning, someone that in the last couple of times that he stepped into the box, he struck out. So if you're Newman, finding a way to get the ball over the heart of the plate right here, at worst, allowing your defense to play behind you is really what has to be the thought process.
First pitch after the visit to the mound is a strike. So Newman taking whatever advice Dave Smith gave him and trying to get back into the count. Manning still ahead 2-1. Lazera setting up outside. Forces a chopper. Going to be a tough play from Wisniewski. But the out will be called on the base paths. It looks like interference. We'll see right here. Or he did get the tag on before throwing. So a smart play there from Wisniewski, because it would have been a tough play there getting Manning out at first. So Newman able to get out of the inning, and the Tigers coming to bat, trying to complete this comeback on the home opener in San Antonio. Welcome back to Tiger Network. This game going down to the wire. And Babson going to another new pitcher, Stephen McClendon, the junior from Nashua, New Hampshire, will be tasked with closing this one out for the Beavers. And we see that there are some divided opinions in the comments about the term arm barn, so we'll go back to bullpen for now. McClendon coming in from the bullpen. A role that he did well in last year, came in 5 times through 6 innings and did not allow a run. But he'll have the tough task of going through the heart of the Tigers' order. And it'll start with a pinch hitter, Ty Preston, who swings at the first pitch, lines it foul the other way.
Yeah, in the last couple of half innings, Brian, we've seen this Tiger coaching staff opt to go with some pinch hitters, try and get some favorable matchups at the plate. We've seen this Babson coaching staff run through a couple different pitchers, obviously now 3 different arms across the last 3 innings, but all right-handers and some left-handed hitters stepping in now for the Tigers in an attempt to combat that.
Ty Preston, like Jonathan Newman, on the mound in the last inning from Pearland, Texas. And he's down 0-2, and he looks at that one that's right there for strike 3. So McClendon retiring Preston quickly off the bench. The Tigers down to their final 2 outs, and it'll have to be Wisniewski and Metz. So 2 pretty good options for the Tigers. But they'll have to get something going with no one on and 1 out in the 9th.
Yeah, Brian, absolutely right in regards to 2 pretty good options right here. Someone that's more often than not going to put the ball in play at the bare minimum. But also last season, we saw him reach almost 1 out of every 2 at-bats that he had. And to follow that with MJ Metz, obviously the hottest hitter in a Tiger uniform right now, it's a great place to be. But obviously for Wisniewski, not satisfied with that call to start his at-bat and trails because of it.
That one inside on Wisniewski, so the count 1-1. Clock reads 6:30 here in San Antonio. Temperature down to 38. Wisniewski not going to put gloves on, though. You still see him with the bare hands, his signature look that Tiger fans have gotten so used to here with 4 seasons of watching the local San Antonio native play. And now trying to get something going in the 9th. He waits back on that breaking ball, fouls it back.
Brian, one of the biggest reasons Wisniewski's been so successful in his career, especially last year, was his willingness, specifically in scenarios like this where he's down in the count, to really use the full field. It's not something that we see a ton out of left-handed hitters specifically. Typically defenses adjust. We see them in the shift a ton to account for their lack of ability, lack of willingness to spray the ball across the field, especially to go the other way. But that's definitely something that Wisniewski is certainly willing to do.
And that one going to be called a 3rd strike on Wisniewski, and he does not look happy with that call. As you've mentioned throughout the game, Wisniewski, not someone that strikes out very often, has an incredible eye at the plate. He often knows what is a ball, what is a strike, and he did not think that one was in there. But McClendon coming in and striking out the first 2 batters, and the Tigers down to their final out. MJ Metz will have to deliver here.
Yeah, but knowing Wisniewski and his plate awareness, to see a couple of fastballs that he doesn't like being called as strikes, I feel like you have to give him the benefit of the doubt more often than not.
Absolutely, and interesting to see the back and forth here. McClendon ready to go right when he gets the ball, but Metz waiting, and he sends this one to right field, going back and going to bounce off against the wall. Metz will coast into second with a double, and the Tigers are alive here. Metz, for the 2nd time today, nearly sending one out to right field, but he keeps things going, and the Tigers have a man at second. 2 outs here in the 9th. Can they make this comeback?
Yeah, Brian, that one, again, off the wall, such a hard hit ball the other direction. Just a matter of feet, really, from being able to sneak over and tie this one up. But Christian Holloway, someone that we've called time and time again today, stepping up here now. And this is something that I think we were bound to end up at, place we're bound to end up at no matter what at some point in this season. Talked about the departures that this Tiger team had, the veterans that left this offense. These are the guys that need to step up now. It's Holloway, it's Peterson, and Baker, and Colt Harris, all of these guys who we're going to get a chance to see. This is a chance early on here in the season for this group of individuals to deliver for the Tigers.
Holloway continuing what Metz did and just taking time, making McClendon wait on the mound. McClendon going through the first two batters quickly, but now in some trouble. Holloway sees that 0-1 pitch in there for a strike. Now down 0-2. Mets a pretty speedy runner at second, getting as big a lead as possible. And that is going to be called third strike on Holloway. Despite the catcher Kiley dropping it, Holloway rung up, and McClendon ends up striking out the side for the Beavers. And Babson comes into San Antonio and starts this 3-game series with a victory over the top 15 ranked Tigers.
Yeah, Brian, and I think the thing that you have to point to today was the pitching, and ultimately Babson was just a little bit better than Trinity on the day, and it's a great start to the season for him. Come down to San Antonio to play in not favorable weather and to get some performances out of guys that didn't throw a whole lot last year. It was really incredible for them, but for the Tigers, put up a great fight despite the fact that they saw some really great pitching today. We got to see the likes of MJ Metz and a bat that's really hot, especially after the great pitching that he saw last weekend. It didn't matter. The bat stayed hot this weekend, so there's certainly bright spots for Trinity. Corey Cater, really, really good again, continued to pitch even after he got hit and gave up some runs. And then the Tigers in relief for Newman to come in and to be the only other pitcher that the Tigers needed today. Certainly a bright spot after there were questions entering this year about the Tigers and their bullpen.
It was a great game all around, really great performances from both the Tigers and the Beavers. For Babson, it was Tanner Santos and Josh Yellen leading the way with 2 runs batted in respectively. Kiley adding another to round out the 5, and it ended up being that 5th inning in which the Beavers scored 4 runs that ultimately decided this one. The Tigers had their chances. They left 10 men on base, had the bases loaded there in the middle innings, and had a runner on second here in the 9th inning, but just unable to bring him home. MJ Metz, a big bright spot for the Tigers, going 3 for 4 with 2 doubles going the other way, but just coming up short are the Tigers. But thankfully, with how baseball works, we are right back at it tomorrow. You see the upcoming schedule here for the Tigers. They will face the Babson Beavers at 2 p.m. tomorrow. They are then scheduled for a 10 a.m. start on Sunday, and then they have an extended homestand that continues with some really tough opponents. Wisconsin Whitewater will come into town, then DeSales, before going into conference play against the Southwestern Pirates. Luke, any final thoughts before we sign off on our first game of the season?
Well, Brian, first of all, what a pleasure it was to be back on the call with you tonight. Beyond that, I think we had a really, really great start to this series, and if there's anything that can be said, it's just that I wish for baseball as good as this in the next couple of days.
100% agree with you on that one. We are so thankful to be back with all of you right here on Tiger Network. Thank you so much to Ryan Cedillo and Josh Mochigemba for all that they do to provide this incredible broadcast, in addition to the amazing student crew that we have working tirelessly in the control room to bring you all these angles, these replays, these incredible things that we're so lucky to have for you. So make sure to tune in all season long here on Tiger Network. For Luke Terry, I'm Brian Yanselson, and have a fantastic Friday night.